Hello, and welcome to another emotional rescue story. Every rescue begins differently. Some start with loud cries for help, others with visible danger that immediately draws attention. But sometimes, the most urgent situations are the quietest ones, the kind that happen out of sight. I always enjoy connecting with people from around the world, so tell me where you are watching from today. Leave your country in the comments. Before anyone realized something was wrong, two tiny lives were already fighting a silent battle beneath the ground. In this video, you're going to witness an incredible rescue story about persistence and how one determined dog refused to walk away. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss more emotional stories like this one. Beneath an ordinary area that people crossed every day, two small kittens were trapped, hidden from view. The kittens had fallen into a narrow space. It was dark, confined, and confusing. As time passed, their energy faded. Then, a dog passing by with its owner stopped suddenly. It returned to the same spot again and again, sniffing intensely. The dog resisted moving. It pulled back, circling the location. It had detected something beneath the surface that everyone else missed. The dog began pawing lightly at the ground, then paused, listening. A faint sound, almost impossible for human ears to catch, reached it again. The kitten's weak cries echoed through the narrow space below. The dog barked once, sharp and alert, breaking the routine calm of the moment. Passers-by briefly looked over but continued walking, unaware of what the animal was trying to communicate. Still, the dog refused to leave. It moved away briefly, only to return again, pacing in tight circles. Its persistence slowly transformed curiosity into concern. The owner began to realize this was not ordinary behavior. Something about the dog's urgency felt different. Purposeful rather than random. Leaning closer to the ground, the owner listened carefully. At first, there was only silence. Then faintly, a soft cry rose from below. It was weak, almost lost beneath surrounding noise, but unmistakably alive. In that instant, everything changed. What had seemed like an ordinary walk suddenly became the beginning of a rescue. The realization brought urgency. Two small animals were trapped somewhere underground, unseen and unable to escape without help. The dog stood alert beside the opening, watching closely as if waiting for action. Its refusal to walk away had revealed a hidden emergency that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. And as the owner looked around, trying to understand how deep the space might be and how the kittens could be reached, one thing became clear: finding them was only the first step. Getting them out safely would require patience, teamwork, and careful decisions. Because the rescue itself was about to become far more complicated than anyone expected. The opening was small, barely noticeable unless someone looked closely, and it led into a narrow underground space that disappeared into darkness. From above, it was impossible to see how deep it went, or where exactly the kittens were trapped. The dog remained fixed beside the opening, ears alert and body tense, occasionally letting out short, urgent barks. The owner knelt down and tried calling softly. A weak response echoed upward, faint, tired, but unmistakable. The kittens were alive, but their strength was fading. A few nearby pedestrians slowed down, curious about the unusual scene. Once the situation was explained, concern quickly replaced curiosity. Someone suggested using a flashlight, and within moments, a phone light illuminated the narrow gap. The beam revealed rough concrete walls descending into a tight cavity, but the kittens themselves were still hidden deeper inside. Their cries confirmed they were there, yet reaching them would not be simple. The opening was too narrow for a hand to fit safely. Any attempt to force entry risked pushing debris downward or frightening the kittens further into the confined space. The owner realized that patience would be essential. Rushing could make the situation worse, especially if the kittens panicked and moved beyond reach. The dog continued pacing, occasionally lying down with its head near the opening, listening carefully. Each time the faint cries sounded again, the dog lifted its head instantly, as if reassuring everyone that the kittens were still there. Its persistence kept the group focused, reminding them that time mattered. Someone nearby contacted local animal rescue volunteers, while others began searching for tools that might help. A small crowd formed, not out of spectacle, but shared concern. People who had been strangers minutes earlier now worked together, discussing possibilities and offering assistance. One person brought a longer flashlight, allowing a clearer view into the space. Another suggested lowering something soft into the opening to encourage the kittens to climb or move closer. A piece of cloth tied to a cord was carefully lowered. The movement had to be slow to avoid startling the trapped animals. For several moments, nothing happened. Then a faint rustling sound echoed upward, followed by another weak cry. The kittens were responding, but they were likely too exhausted to climb. The rescuers realized that professional help might be necessary. The underground space appeared connected to a drainage system, meaning the kittens could be trapped in a section extending farther than expected. Attempting to widen the opening without proper tools could cause collapse or injury. While waiting for rescue assistance to arrive, the group worked to keep the kittens calm. Soft voices replaced loud conversation. The dog stayed closest, lying quietly as if offering comfort through presence alone. Occasionally, it looked toward its owner, then back at the opening, maintaining unwavering attention. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Every small sound from below reassured everyone that the kittens were still holding on. The atmosphere shifted from uncertainty to determination. No one wanted to leave until the rescue was complete. When the distant sound of approaching rescue workers finally became audible, relief spread through the group. Equipment would soon arrive, along with people trained to handle delicate situations like this. The discovery made by one persistent dog had brought together strangers, and now the real rescue operation was about to begin. A careful effort that would test patience, coordination, and hope as they prepared to reach the kittens hidden in the darkness below. The discovery made by one persistent dog had brought together strangers, and now the real rescue operation was about to begin. A careful effort that would test patience, coordination, and hope as they prepared to reach the kittens hidden in the darkness below. When the rescue workers arrived, they quickly assessed the situation, listening closely to the explanation while observing the narrow opening and the behavior of the dog still guarding the spot. Experience told them that underground rescues required precision. One wrong movement could frighten the animals deeper into the structure or even cause part of the surface to collapse. The team began by carefully examining the ground around the opening. Using specialized lights, they studied the depth and direction of the cavity. The space appeared to connect to an old drainage channel running beneath the area, which explained why the kittens' cries echoed unevenly. This also meant the kittens could be positioned several feet away from the visible entrance, making direct access impossible without creating a safer entry point. The rescuers worked calmly, speaking in low voices to maintain a quiet environment. Loud sounds or sudden vibrations might cause panic below. One team member lay flat on the ground, lowering a small inspection camera attached to a flexible cable into the opening. Everyone gathered close, watching the small screen as the camera slowly descended through the darkness. At first, only rough surfaces and scattered debris appeared on the monitor. Then, after a gentle adjustment, movement flashed across the screen. Two small shapes huddled tightly together came into view. The kittens were pressed against the wall of the narrow channel, their bodies dirty and trembling, but still alert. Their eyes reflected the light briefly before they shifted deeper into shadow. Seeing them confirmed both relief and urgency. They were alive, but clearly exhausted. The rescuers explained that reaching them would require widening a section of ground nearby, rather than pulling them upward through the original opening. Carefully, they marked a safe area where digging could begin without causing collapse. Tools were brought forward, and the process started slowly, removing small layers of soil and debris at a controlled pace. Throughout the process, the dog remained close, watching every movement. Occasionally, it stepped forward, sniffing the air as if checking whether progress was being made. Its calm presence seemed to steady everyone involved. The owner stayed nearby as well, quietly observing how the dog's persistence had turned an ordinary walk into a coordinated rescue effort. As digging continued, rescuers paused frequently to listen for sounds from below. Each faint cry guided their direction, helping them adjust their approach. Progress was slow but deliberate. After several careful minutes, one rescuer announced that they were close. The ground beneath their tools felt thinner, and the inspection camera confirmed they were approaching the kitten's location. The final layer required extra caution. Using gloved hands instead of tools, a rescuer gently cleared the remaining dirt until a small opening formed. A soft beam of light reached the kittens for the first time since they had been trapped. One kitten reacted immediately, letting out a weak cry. The rescuer slowly extended a hand into the space, pausing to allow the kittens to adjust. Sudden grabbing could cause panic, so patience was essential. After a moment, the first kitten was gently lifted out, small and fragile but alive. It was wrapped quickly in a soft towel for warmth. The second kitten required even greater care. Minutes passed before it slowly edged forward, and the rescuer lifted it safely to the surface. The dog stepped closer, tail moving gently, watching the small animals it had worked so hard to save. The most dangerous part was over. Once both kittens were safely above the surface, the rescue team immediately shifted their focus from extraction to care. Time was of the essence. Wrapped gently in soft towels, the kittens were placed inside a prepared carrier. Rescuers checked them for injuries and signs of exhaustion. One of the rescuers offered a small amount of water using a dropper. The kittens responded, taking their first steps towards stabilization. Both kittens responded to touch and water, a reassuring sign of their strength. Every small reaction brought visible relief to the team. It quickly became clear that the kittens needed further medical evaluation after their ordeal. Although they appeared free from serious injury, dehydration and stress could cause hidden complications. A transport crate was prepared, and the kittens were carefully placed inside together for safety. Before leaving, the rescuers ensured the area was secured to prevent other animals from falling in. Everyone was grateful to the dog whose persistence made this rescue possible. The journey to the clinic was peaceful. Inside the carrier, the kittens finally rested. Upon arrival, the staff immediately began a thorough and gentle examination. Warm blankets and proper care would soon help them regain their strength. Their shared bond provided comfort as they began their new journey to a permanent home. The rescue was a success, and these survivors are now ready for a bright future. Within a few hours, subtle improvements became visible. One kitten lifted its head, responding to movement outside the enclosure, while the other stretched slightly before settling back down. These small actions, almost unnoticeable to an outside observer, meant everything to the caregivers watching closely. Recovery often begins with tiny signs: curiosity returning, muscles relaxing, and fear slowly fading. The veterinarian explained that young animals are remarkably resilient when given timely care. Dehydration had been the most immediate threat, followed by exhaustion and exposure to cold underground conditions. Fortunately, the rescue had happened before irreversible damage occurred. Fluids, warmth, and rest were now doing what survival alone could not. Meanwhile, news of the rescue quietly spread through social media and local community groups. People were deeply moved by the story, especially the role played by the dog that refused to leave the spot where the kittens were trapped. Messages of support arrived, along with offers from individuals interested in helping with the kittens' recovery. Some donated supplies, while others asked about adoption possibilities once the animals were healthy enough. Over the next few days, the kittens grew stronger. Their eyes became more alert, and their movements more confident. Playful behavior slowly replaced stillness as they began exploring their enclosure, batting gently at each other and investigating unfamiliar sounds. Staff members noticed how quickly their personalities started to emerge now that fear no longer dominated their behavior. Regular health checks confirmed steady improvement. Clean fur replaced the dirt that once covered them. Each passing day made it clearer that the rescue had not only saved their lives, but had given them the opportunity to grow normally. As recovery continued, the rescue organization began planning the kittens' future. They would be prepared for adoption into a safe home. During this time, one volunteer spent extra moments sitting near their enclosure, allowing the kittens to grow comfortable with human presence. At first cautious, they soon responded with curiosity. Trust, once fragile, began rebuilding naturally through consistent kindness. The transformation was quiet but powerful. The frightened animals discovered underground were becoming confident young cats ready for a new beginning. Their story was no longer defined by danger, but by recovery and connection. Rescue is only the first step towards something even more meaningful, a permanent home. The answer would come sooner than expected, proving that sometimes rescue is only the first step towards something even more meaningful. A permanent home where survival turns into belonging, and where a moment of compassion continues shaping lives long after the rescue itself ends. As the kittens grew stronger each day, the rescue staff began introducing them to potential adopters in a calm and controlled way. The goal was not simply to find any home, but the right environment, one where patience, safety, and care would allow them to fully leave their difficult beginning behind. By now, the kittens had transformed noticeably. Their movements were confident, their eyes bright with curiosity instead of fear. They chased toys across the enclosure, climbed over blankets, and greeted familiar caregivers at feeding time. Anyone meeting them for the first time would never guess how close they had come to being lost underground. Still, the staff remained careful, understanding that emotional recovery can take longer than physical healing. One afternoon, a visitor arrived who had followed the rescue story online. They spent several minutes sitting quietly near the enclosure without reaching in immediately, allowing the kittens to approach at their own pace. This gentle patience made a difference. One kitten cautiously stepped forward, sniffing curiously before pawing at the enclosure door. The second soon followed, encouraged by its siblings' confidence. The interaction felt natural, unforced, exactly what the staff hoped to see. After several visits and careful discussion, the adoption was approved. The decision was based not only on enthusiasm, but on preparedness and understanding of the responsibility involved. The transition to their new home was handled gradually to reduce stress. Familiar blankets and toys were placed inside the carrier, so the kittens would carry a sense of comfort with them during the move. When the carrier door opened in their new home, the kittens hesitated briefly before stepping out together. They explored slowly at first, investigating corners, furniture, and unfamiliar sounds. Sunlight filtered through the windows, warming the space as they adjusted to surroundings that were calm and secure. Within hours, curiosity replaced hesitation. They began playing again, chasing each other across the floor with the carefree energy of animals finally free from fear. Updates shared with the rescue team confirmed what everyone had hoped. The kittens were thriving. They developed routines, sought affection from their new owner, and grew stronger with each passing week. What once began as a desperate situation hidden underground had turned into a story of recovery and stability. The rescue also left a lasting impression on the community. Many people reflected on how easily the situation could have gone unnoticed, if not for one persistent dog that refused to walk away. Its instinct to stop, listen, and insist on attention had changed everything. Without that moment of awareness, the faint cries beneath the ground might have faded unheard. In the end, this story is not only about saving 2 kittens, it is about the importance of paying attention to small signs, about trusting compassion when something feels wrong, and about how ordinary moments can become extraordinary when someone chooses to act. A simple walk turned into a rescue, strangers became a team, and 2 vulnerable lives were given a future they otherwise might never have had. Thank you for caring enough to follow this journey from beginning to end. Stories like this remind us that kindness often begins with noticing, with stopping when others continue walking, and with believing that even the smallest effort can make a lasting difference. Somewhere, a dog continues its daily walks, unaware that its determination once turned a quiet moment into a rescue that changed lives forever.